Thank you for joining us here at Lowry Sports Rhetoric. I am your host, Nathan.
And I'm Daimon.
And today we're going to discuss the New Orleans Saints as we wrap up the NFC South here. Last year in 2021, they were 9-8. They did not make the playoffs. Offensively, they were 28th in yards, 19th in points. Defensively, they were 7th in yards allowed and 4th in points allowed.
Before we move on, this just hit me as you were reading this. Can you imagine, this was a down year for the Saints. Do you remember when we were kids, what the Saints were as a franchise? The idea that 9-8 is a down year for the Saints, this franchise has come a long way,
It
right?
has.
It's really come a long way.
Yeah.
Which is a testament to the guy you're about to talk about.
All right. And I'll just say that, obviously those are good stats defensively, man. So,
heck of a defense.
That's a heck of a defense. All right. GM Mickey Loomis, from 2013, that's 9 years that he's been here in the league. Look, good GM. He definitely has done what you needed to do to consistently, as you just pointed out, consistently be in the running and be talked about as a team that's got that potential. Now, a lot had to do with Drew Brees,
And Sean Payton.
But I still think that the building blocks of a team is still there. It's not like when those guys moved on, you're looking at a team that is incomplete and can't perform. This is still a very solid team that we have here.
Well, and we'll talk about it as the video goes on, but prior to the Winston injury, they were on track to have a much better season than they ended up having. We talk about that's not a bad down year. It was on track to be on par with a normal year until Winston got hurt, in my mind.
Absolutely.
And then they just didn't have anything at quarterback.
Yeah, because Hill was not the answer there.
Nope.
All right, head coach Dennis Allen is the new head coach with Sean Payton retiring. So we look forward to seeing what he can do down there.
Well, and I think the interesting thing about Dennis Allen is that he's had head coaching experience before. He's been the coordinator there for a little while. So there is some continuity there. There's some experience there. So, if you're going to have let's face it, Sean Payton at this point is probably, a Hall of Fame level head coach or close to it. Definitely one of the better head coaches in the league. He'll get another job at some point, I would imagine. If you're going to have a guy of that talent retire on you, typically it's hard to replace him. Having a guy in-house like Dennis Allen was probably... it's a testament to what they've built there, but it's also a luxury to be able to turn it over to a guy with that experience and that level of continuity with the team, I would think, right?
Absolutely. All right, free agent additions. One of my favorite players, Tyrann Mathieu, free safety, came out of Kansas City. This was a guy that I was hoping to get on the Colts. Didn't happen. That's fine. I like the direction that we took things. But I think that he still has enough in the tank to be a contributor out there. And with the brains and experience that he has, I think he's always going to be a dangerous person on the field.
Yeah, not the caliber of player that he was earlier in his career probably. But like you said, he'll still make plays. And as we talk about the rest of this team and get into it, I don't think he has to be... For this to still be a good defense, he doesn't have to be a superstar. Sure. He can just be a good, solid piece, and it'll still be a good defense.
Yeah, and he absolutely is. Okay, Marcus May, free safety out of the from the Jets. Jarvis Landry, wide receiver out of Cleveland.
Solid wide receiver.
Solid wide receiver, yeah. Andy Dalton, quarterback out of Chicago, obviously for in case anything happens.
That's an upgrade at the backup position from what they had last year. That's an upgrade to the backup position.
Absolutely. Daniel Sorensen, safety out of Kansas City.
Is he the kid from Friday Night Lights? No? Oh, okay.
Friday Night Lights. All right. I haven't heard that in a long time.
That'll show my age.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Kentavious Street, defensive end from San Francisco. Eric Wilson, outside linebacker from Houston. Jaleel Johnson, defensive tackle out of Houston. J.P. Holtz, tight end out of Chicago. And then Brandon Dillon, tight end out of the Jets.
Let me tell you what I know about J.P. Holtz. He played at Tulane. Yeah, it's his time with Chicago. What I know of him is he played at Tulane.
Okay. So, free agent losses. Terran Armstead, tackle to Miami. That's a good player. That's a really good player. Another player that I was hoping we would get.
It's a loss. There's no doubt it's a significant loss. He's considered by some to be the best tackle in the league. He's definitely in the top 5.
Does have some injury issues.
Has some injury issues, but when he's on the field, he's protecting you. So that's a loss.
Sure. Marcus Williams, free safety, Baltimore. And obviously, they addressed the safety issue just fine.
Yeah, I think they're fine.
Trevor Siemian, quarterback, Chicago. They upgraded there.
They upgraded their backup quarterback.
You guys downgraded.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, Jalen Holmes. I'm just realizing as I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh yeah, well, dang, man, Chicago really downgraded that.
We'll talk about that when we get to the Bears video, won't we?
All right. Jalen Holmes, defensive tackle to the Giants. Little Jordan Humphrey, wide receiver to New England. And Garrett Griffin, tight end to Detroit.
I mean, I think they upgraded, especially the wide receiver position, they upgraded that one with going with Landry over
Little Jordan Humphrey?
Little Jordan
Humphrey. All right. Trades, there were no trades.
No trades.
So the Saints weren't very active there. Let's get into their draft.
Top heavy.
Round 1, number 11, Chris Olave. I'm not sure how to say that. Wide receiver out of Ohio State. He is a stud.
You add him to Landry and Michael Thomas. Oh my goodness, that's a core.
Yeah.
A receiving core.
Yeah. Round 1, number 19, Trevor Penning, offensive tackle out of Northern Iowa.
And there's your Armstead replacement. Maybe not as good, but he's young. He's got something to grow, but that's the future.
Round 2, number 49, Alante Taylor, defensive back out of Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know as much about him as the other two. I think the other two are just were home run picks.
Sure.
There was other DBs that I knew more about than Taylor.
Sure, me too.
But
he didn't really show up on the list when I was looking at them either. But
I'm gonna give Loomis and his crew the benefit of the doubt because they've consistently put a good team out there. So if they thought he was worth a second-round pick, then he's probably pretty good.
Absolutely. Round 5, number 161, DeMarco Jackson, linebacker out of Appalachian State. A lot of these Appalachian State guys end up being pretty good. So.
Yeah, and I think he was a big playmaker for them. So at the very least, I would expect him to be able to contribute to special teams.
Absolutely. Round 6, number 194, Jordan Jackson, defensive tackle out of Air Force. Don't know anything about him. I didn't watch much Air Force. Just don't know about him.
Yeah, the Air Force guys too. Don't they have to? I think he's got to go serve for 4 years, right? So I don't know how that works.
I don't know how that works. Maybe that's something we should look into. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get into projected starters here for 2022 campaign. The quarterback, Jameis Winston, again last year, 1,170 yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He was injured. He only played in 7 games. I thought that the dude was playing extremely well for him as far as the touchdown to interception ratio, which is a big concern that you have. I know that he had that surgery with his eyes. I don't know if that has changed things, but I'm not sure that he's ever had stats with that much of a differential between touchdowns and interceptions.
No, it's interesting. Even going back to his Florida State days, which, I'm a Florida State fan, Jameis has been a guy that's a big play guy. He puts a lot of big plays in the thing, but he also takes a lot of chances, makes a lot of mistakes, and they kind of really reeled him in. He didn't have as many big plays, but like you said, that touchdown to intercept, the yardage is so small, but that touchdown to interception ratio is nice. And I think if he can continue to do that, especially with these wide receivers that we're talking about here, and just give them the ability to make the plays, I think that's the whole reason he said he went to the Saints is he wanted to learn from Breeze and he wanted to learn from Sean Payton on how to be a better quarterback. And I think that one of the things they taught him was give your playmakers a chance to make plays, and it's okay to take a sack or throw the ball away, and you don't have to try to jam it in every time. It looks like he learned that lesson. So I'm very interested to see what Winston looks like this year, especially if he can stay healthy, because like we talked about at the beginning of the video, I was pleasantly surprised at how well they were playing before he got hurt.
Yeah.
As a Winston fan from my Florida State, going back to Florida State, I'm a Winston fan, and I'd love to see the kid succeed. I'd love to see him make a Pro Bowl, win a Super Bowl maybe. And this is one of the things I'm most excited to see about this season is to see how he plays with these playmakers. If he's healthy, if he can continue to have that touchdown to interception ratio, but maybe up the production by letting his playmakers make plays.
Running back Alvin Kamara. There's a suspension possible. I think it's likely. He went for 898 yards and 4 touchdowns, plus added 439 receiving and 5 touchdowns, and that was only in 13 games. He did have some injury problems.
And that's still the potential suspension. The situation from that is still not resolved, right? So that could even be...
Yeah.
That could be something that hangs over him over the season.
Absolutely.
Possibly.
Absolutely.
But...
as long as he's out there playing...
But when he's playing, if he's on the field, ooh.
He's a dangerous weapon.
Ooh.
He's a dangerous weapon. Wide receiver Michael Thomas, another dangerous weapon. 40 receptions, 438 yards, and 0 touchdowns. He had to have ankle surgery. He was out. He missed. I think he only played 7 games. That guy, if he is healthy, and obviously sometimes he's got some maturity issues.
When his head's on straight, he can play, but there's not always on straight.
We didn't throw this in there either. Winston got some maturity issues too. So if some of these players can get their maturity issues under control too, I think that would absolutely help. Well, we'll see if that happens. But yeah, Michael Thomas is a threat when he's on the field for sure.
He's really good.
He's really good. Jarvis Landry, 52 receptions, 570 yards, and 2 touchdowns came over from the Browns. He's kind of been dropping lately, his stat-wise. It's going down. I don't know if his potential has been, maxed out. Now he's on the decline. But as a second wide receiver here, second option, I like that. I like his pairing with Michael Thomas.
He gave him the hometown discount. He wanted to be home. I think, if you talk about the next guy you're talking about, that rookie, I mean, Landry might be the third best receiver on this team.
Which is
and as a third guy, a possession guy,
smart guy.
Like a third down possession type receiver. I think if he's settling into that role in this last half of his career, we've seen that out of receivers before. We saw that like Jerry Rice late in his career was a lesser player but still could move the chains. Fitzgerald lasted forever. Anquan Bolden lasted forever because they were able to transition from that number one guy to a slot guy that just moves the chains. If Landry can embrace that and do that with the other 2 receivers they have, and Kamara if he's out there, I mean that's a lot of weapons. That's a quality offensive team.
Yeah. So then obviously the next guy, Chris Olave, rookie. We just talked about that. Tight end Adam Troutman, 27 receptions, 263 yards, and 2 touchdowns. All right. I mean, like they said, there's all kinds of weapons there, and then you got Adam Troutman. I mean, that's good. And then let's get into our offensive line.
Keep it going.
The fullback Adam Prentice, and then their offensive line is left tackle James Hurst, left guard Andres Pete, center Eric McCoy, right guard Cesar Ruiz, and then right tackle Ryan Ramseyk, whatever. I guess that's a decent line.
They're young, so they've retooled it over the last couple of years. They used to have like the best line, one of the best lines in football. They've retooled it over the last couple of years. They've brought in guys. Ruiz is young, the rookie at right tackle. So I think they're in the middle of retooling it. But they're young guys that they spent first-round picks on to retool. So, if they built the quality line they built the first time, you think might be the new version of that. So I would expect it to be at least solid, if not better than solid, because I'm going to give Loomis the benefit of the doubt. He's built a line before. And they spent quality. It's not like they drafted these guys in like the 4th or 5th round and we're waiting to see what they turn into. These were first round picks that should be good guys. So I think there's a lot to. There's good reason to be optimistic about that offensive line.
Okay, now let's get into their defensive projected starters. Left defensive end Cameron Jordan with 59 tackles, 12.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 6 pass deflects. Absolutely love Cameron Jordan. I think he's a great player.
From Cal?
Yeah. From Cal, Daimon.
From Cal.
Okay. But then left defensive tackle Shy Tuttle, 48 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 3 pass deflects. And then right defensive tackle David Aniamata, 34 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 fumble recovery. And then right defensive end Marcus Davenport, 39 tackles, 9 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery.
I think he's got potential to be even better.
Absolutely.
Jordan and Davenport is a very nice defensive end pair.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it might not compare to some of those guys in the AFC West, but it's darn good. So I think that's a dangerous dangerous duo right there.
Absolutely, and you saw how good their defensive stats were last year. I mean, I think that's important.
And I think Davenport's just getting better.
Absolutely. So, I really like this front right here.
Yeah.
And then linebacker Pete Warner, he was a rookie last year, only had 62 tackles. Linebacker Demario Davis, 105 tackles, 3 sacks, 7 pass deflects. Linebacker Zach Bond, 30 tackles. I think that's maybe a weaker point of the team.
Well, so the one was a rookie last year. Bond was he not a rookie last year too? I thought he was also a rookie last year. If not, he was a rookie the year before. He's young. I remember when he came out of Wisconsin, he had a lot of upside. And Davis is good. So I think you got Davis a couple of young guys that are still learning the position, could still possibly be improved. Davis is good. With that front four in front of him, you don't necessarily need those guys to be all pros. So as far as, that's not a horrible weakness if it is a weakness. Because I think both of those guys have potential to be better this year than they were.
Okay. Yeah. And when we get into the next stuff here, left cornerback Paulson Adebo, he was a rookie last year, had 66 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 8 pass deflects.
That's not bad for a rookie.
Not bad for a rookie. And then obviously you have Tyrann Mathieu here, safety coming from the Chiefs. 76 tackles, 1 sack, 3 fumble recoveries, 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown, and 6 pass deflects. Plays all over the field, and he's a threat in a bunch of different areas when he's on the field.
And he'll help those linebackers out too, because he likes to get up and get nasty.
Absolutely. And then Marcus May coming over from the Jets. 46 tackles, 1 sack, 2 pass deflects. And then right cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, 68 tackles, 1 fumble recovery, 3 interceptions, and 19 pass deflects.
That 19 pass deflects.
Yeah.
That's one of the craziest stats that I've seen you throw out yet.
There's been some people with over 20 of those.
19 pass deflects. That is...
Yeah.
That is...
Putting in work.
Keeping the receiver from catching the football.
Absolutely.
That's more than 1 a game.
So when you look at that, and like Adebo, like you said, he was a rookie last year. He had good stats for a rookie. This is going to be a good secondary as well. So
yeah. So like we said, if Winston can stay healthy and can be good Jameis, not bad Jameis,
you have a team around you.
This team, I think, is a definite playoff team. Possibly could threaten Tampa Bay for the division, especially if Brady. We talked about the Tampa Bay video. We are over the expecting Brady to slip, but if he does, this team will be poised to jump into that number 1 spot, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, they on paper, they look like they're, like you said. I was never really a believer in Winston. I don't think that he could get his interceptions out of control, and I hate that. But he did seem to do it last year, and if they can get that out of him again, man, it's going to be fun to watch this team. It really is.
And to think that we're 2 years removed from Breeze retiring, we thought they were going to have cap issues like crazy. This was a team that was like, I remember at one point looking at their salary cap and how far over they were. For him to do whatever he did to make it all work out and have this much of a competitive team, that's a testament to a GM that reloaded instead of rebuilding.
Absolutely.
It's hard to move on from a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's hard to move on from a top-notch coach, and they look like they're poised to do both. Yeah. And that's definitely a testament to Loomis and the GM that he is. And hey, like I said at the beginning, when we were growing up, there was the worst franchise in football was New Orleans. It just was. And I think that city supported that team despite it. And I love the fact that, we talked about it with the Cleveland video, how you always have that affinity. You want Cleveland to do good. You like it. You can appreciate their fan base and their passion. I've always felt that way with New Orleans, and I'm glad that they've had this run that they're on. And it's easy for me to root for them because of Jameis, but I like the fan base, and to see them be able to reload the way they did is kind of cool. I've never been the biggest Brady fan, so I'm hoping, I'm pulling for you guys to find a way to edge them out and win this division. I'm not expecting it, but I definitely think you're a playoff team. And hey, okay, bottom line, this is the off-season grade thing. This is how did they do on the off-season. I think you got to give extremely high marks. One of the better off-seasons we've seen for him to be able to keep everything together despite losing one of the best left tackles, despite having your coach go. They upgraded several positions. They did a good job in the draft, only having 5 picks. They did quality with those picks, you got to give them a pretty high grade, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, like you said, the key was kind of keeping it right where it was. I really do think that they are primed and they're ready to win. And yeah, I do see them as a strong playoff team. So,
Especially if Jameis can be an above average quarterback and stay healthy.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for giving us a watch. If you got anything out of this video, give us a like, give us a subscribe.
And hey, show up in the comments for us. Like we are about conversation. We are Lowry Sports Rhetoric. We want to talk to you. We want to interact with you. The reason we're doing this channel is because we love talking sports. We sit around and talk sports with each other all the time. We want to bring those conversations to you. So hit us up in the comments. Check out that Jacksonville video and see what kind of comments that you can have. But please bring something intelligent to the conversation, because that's what we like the most.
Okay, thank you for giving us a watch, and we look forward to seeing you next time.